All right, so in order to finish this dress in every size, no matter what size that you're making, we're going to begin at the neckline. So we're going to join our yarn in the back left top corner so we can begin finishing the neckline. So join your yarn. You can join it with a slip stitch. This is just how I join it. Draw up a loop, chain one, and now I'm going to hold the tails so I don't have to sew them in later, and single crochet in that same stitch. Okay. Now we're going to single crochet in every stitch around the neckline. We're working on the bottom side of our original pattern stitch, those half double crochets that we made at the beginning. Just working underneath those. So make one single crochet in every stitch around the neckline to the right side, and I'll meet you there. All right, so I've single crocheted all the way around the neckline, coming to the right side of the back. Finish up my last few single crochets. We'll begin working down the back side of the dress. All right. So in that top stitch, I'm going to put another single crochet, just to help it turn. Now we're going to be working down the posts. So just don't make too many stitches, just kind of find an even amount of stitches. Like I like to put 2 stitches, like one in that little hole and then one in between where that turn was. Just makes it nice and even because the stitches aren't defined while working, on the side of the posts, but just kind of figure out what looks better. So more of that hole there, and then I'll be in the middle of that turning bit. So I don't have too many stitches and I don't have too few. So when we get to the end, we don't want to add stitches. We just got to be careful not to add stitches. Starting on the other side. And we'll do the same thing going up the left. Just work stitches up the posts. We're not going to be making the buttonholes on this row. We're just going to make a nice stitch foundation for the next row where we can make our buttonholes. I find it's easier to make buttonholes when you have the established single crochets. So come into the end, right? We're going to single crochet in that first stitch and slip stitch in that beginning single crochet. Chain one. So that's how that row looks. Got a nice clean edge and a foundation for us to put our buttons and our buttonholes. So moving on to this next row. Okay. We're going to once again make one single crochet in every stitch around the neckline to get to that other side. Okay, so go ahead and single crochet around to the other side and I'll meet you there. All right, so I've single crocheted around. I'm coming to the end of the neckline. We'll begin to make our buttonholes for our dress. I'm making 2 buttonholes. You can make more, but I think 2 will work fine. So chain 4 at that very top stitch. and single crochet again in that same stitch. So we've single crocheted at the top, chain 4, single crocheted again in that same stitch to make our first buttonhole at the top. I'll just single crochet down the back about midway. Again, if you're putting more than 2 buttons, you'll have to space them out, but I'm just making 2. So I've got one at the top, and then I'll have one midway down the back. All right, so that looks about right. So again, we single crocheted, we're going to chain 4, make sure your chain isn't too tight, and single crochet again in that same stitch, and then continue on single crocheting down the back. And again, when you get to the bottom, you don't want to add stitches, because if you add stitches, you'll get a weird bulge in the back. So I like to skip the very bottom stitch, just so it looks a little more neat and finished. And then going up the left side, just single crochet all the way up, because we'll be sewing on the buttons on this side. Alrighty. Once again, single crochet in that same stitch as the beginning and slip stitch into that beginning single crochet. And that's how it looks. The neckline done, and now all we have left is to sew on our 2 buttons. That's how it looks. Just match up the other side where those buttons are going to go. All right. All right. So we're going to sew on our 2 buttons. I've already threaded my needle. I'm going to start on that top one. I'm going to zoom in. Now I'm going to sew this top button on using the tail from where we made our neckline. So I left the tail long so I can use it as a tail to sew in that top button. It just makes it a little easier. So I'm going to go in through the back, thread my needle through. Now this button has 4 holes, so I'm going to do a crisscross pattern. So I start at the top and then go diagonally. Start at the top left, go to the bottom right, and then go from the top right to the bottom left. That's top right into the bottom left. Just make a nice secure button. So now it's nice and secure. I'm going to weave in my tail. I'm going to make a knot like so, just to give it a little extra security. Pull it. And now I'm just going to weave in my tail. Make it nice and secure. So just pick a couple places to weave it in. Doesn't have to be a lot. Okay. Now I just cut that tail short. And we'll cut those tails. Okay, and that's our first button done. So it matches up. There we go. It's probably important to note also that if you're using a larger button or a button with a shape, you will need to make a larger buttonhole. Just something to keep in mind. But I use these 1/2 inch buttons, and chaining 4 works for me. So just have to take into consideration how big your buttons are. Just gonna, for my second button, I've cut a length of yarn, thread it through my needle. Now match up where the second button is going to be. Thread my yarn through, leaving a tail so I can sew it in later. Thread the button through. This part can be a little tricky because you have to hold that tail. Right, so I'm starting top left again, going into the bottom right. And then going top right into the bottom left. You don't have to do it that way, but it's just, I like to keep it uniform. So all my buttons are crisscross the same. So pull that. And there's our second button. Now to secure the second button, and any other buttons that you do, tie the 2 tails together. Just double knot it. You don't want to tie it too many times because it might be uncomfortable to have a knot in the back, but just a couple times to secure it. Cut the tails to the same length. And then thread both tails onto your needle. It can be very tricky to do. Yeah, I had some trouble because the nature of the Kobu yarn is very splitty. So I went ahead and threaded them off camera because it was giving me trouble. But just like the last tails, just weave them through. Just hide them in there. And then cut the tail short. And there's our second button. So match them up. See that they fit. And there you go. 2 buttons done. All right. Okay. So all that's left to do now is to finish the armholes. So to do that, we want to stay in our pattern. So you can see the stitches are on the right side, or the correct side. So to match our pattern, we want to be working against those. So we'll have to turn to the wrong side here. We want it to look seamless. We don't want it to look like we added the sleeves. So now we're facing the wrong side of our work. Put our hook in a single crochet and join our yarn in that stitch. Just like before, drop a loop, chain 1, hold the tails, and we'll begin our pattern stitch. So a single crochet, double crochet in that same stitch. Skip the double crochet and continue. So the point is to make the sleeves look seamless, like it was all one piece. We're going to continue in our pattern around to the front where this chain 2 spaces. All right, so we've continued our pattern. Now the chain 2 space where we were making the bodice, at least kind of a hole. So we actually want to close up that hole. We don't want baby to have a hole in the back of her arm. So we're going to skip the double crochet and that space and work into that next stitch. So again, we're skipping that chain 2 space. And then working under the arm, look at the stitches under the arm and make sure you're putting them into a stitch that has the single crochet and double crochet and not the skip chain. So once again, there's that chain 2 space. We're going to skip that chain 2 space and work into the double crochet after it, just to close up that hole. And then we're at the beginning. We're going to slip stitch in that beginning single crochet. All right. So you can stop here if you want a short sleeve. But I'm actually going to continue to make a long sleeve. So I'm going to work 14 repeats for newborn size, 15 for 0 to 3, 16 for 3 to 6, and go up by 1 per size. So this is the newborn size. I've done 14 rows, and that's the length that I like. So going up through the sizes, just add 1 more row of repeats per size to get the full length sleeve. Obviously, you can make it shorter, but now we're going to taper the wrists by single crocheting in every stitch. So in every double crochet, every single crochet around. We want the sleeves to be wider and airier, but we want them to taper off at the wrist. So just single crochet all the way around. Obviously, you don't have to do this step, but if you do want that clean, tapered wrist, I recommend it. Just continue that around. Okay, so we have single crocheted in every stitch around, ended with a slip stitch in the beginning single crochet, and we're going to chain 1, turn, single crochet in that same stitch as our chain 1, single crochet in the next 3, so a total of 4 single crochets. Now we're going to decrease. We're going to do an invisible decrease. So insert your hook into the front loop of the next 2 stitches. It's kind of difficult, especially with splitty bamboo yarn. All right, and then pull through both loops and then pull through the remaining ones. That's an invisible decrease. So once again, single crochet in 4 stitches, 2, 3, and 4. Now decrease, put your hook through the front loop only of that stitch and the next stitch. Yarn over, pull through both loops, yarn over, pull through both loops to make an invisible decrease. Again, single crochet in 4, 3, 4, and decrease. Insert your hook into the front loop only of the next 2 stitches. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. and continue that around. Single crochet in 4, and decrease. So continue that all the way around, ending with a slip stitch in the beginning, single crochet. Okay, so this is how the sleeve is looking. I'm going to chain 1, turn. I'm going to continue to taper. So single crochet in that same stitch as the chain 1, and in the next stitch. And now we're going to make another decrease. So again, insert your hook into the next 2 front loops. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and decrease. So that's our pattern for this row. This is an optional additional taper. You don't have to do it, but I feel it gives a cleaner look. So we're going to continue that around, ending with a slip stitch. All right, so this is how the sleeve is looking. It's tapered, looks nice and finished. We're going to do one more row so we end up on the right side of the work. So I have single crochet in that same stitch and in every stitch around. So we're just put one single crochet in every stitch around to the end. It's our final row to our sleeve. And again, you don't have to make long sleeves. I do think it's really pretty, especially in this stitch. I love this stitch. So easy. All right, coming to the end. Slip stitch in the beginning, single crochet. Chain 1, and we will cut our yarn. And we'll weave in that tail. Okay, so this is how the finished sleeve looks. Again, this is the newborn size. It's nice and tapered. Now all that's left is to do the exact same thing on the other sleeve. So we'll make sure that we're starting in the right place. Join our yarn into a single crochet just as before. Chain 1, and holding that tail, single crochet and double crochet. All right. Then just work in our pattern all the way around. Coming again to that chain 2 space, we're going to skip that space, close up that hole, and go into the next space. Again, where we were growing out the bodice, we had that chain 2. We just want to close that up for the sleeve. I'm working in the underarm. Make sure that we're working in worked stitches and not in chain spaces. Again, close up that chain 2 space. And continue in pattern all the way around the sleeve. Continue that around. The thing I love about Kobu yarn is that it's nice and light. It's perfect for summer. And it has a really nice stitch definition. So it just really brings out the stitch. It's good for an Easter dress or just a sundress for a little girl in the summer. It's nice and comfortable. All right, so we're going to slip stitch in our beginning single crochet. That's row 1 of the sleeve done. Again, you can stop here or you can grow out the sleeve like I'm going to. So repeat around. Make it all the way as long as you want. It's exactly the same as the first sleeve. Make sure to weave in those tails as well. Okay, so this is the completed dress. Both sleeves, the length that I wanted. We've got our buttons on. The nice, easy, beginner crochet pattern, I think. And you can add your own creativity to. You can add embellishments. You can embroider on it. You can put flowers. It's really just a nice, simple blank canvas for you to make for a little girl in your life. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Please like this video. Please share it. And I'll see you in the next one.